Thank you for the message, Adrian. Very, very good. Can I do an amendment? Not an amendment, an addition. People sometimes have said to me in various contexts, where was God in all this? In our bereavements, our difficulties, and in the war, where was God? How many of you know about Dunkirk?
No.
No, but what was it?
Dunkirk.
Yeah.
No. Okay. It's not taught in schools. I think is absolutely abysmal that it's not. Our army went into France to defend France being taken over and overrun. Our army, right? English army went to France to stop the Germans coming, to try and stop them. Didn't succeed. Our army was eventually pinned with their backs to the water at Dunkirk. The government had to rescue them somehow. Where was God in this? This is what I'm saying. They didn't want to commit capital ships. You know what capital ships are? Destroyers, battleships, because they would have been sunk almost certainly. Long story short, in 8 days, 800 boats from England went over to Dunkirk and brought back 338,000 of our troops and allied troops, who went mostly tugs, pleasure craft, all manned by civilians. There were 800 craft. They went, they came back, they went, they came back for 8 days. Where was God in all that? You think about the logistics of that. Nearly 500,000 of our troops were rescued instead of going into captivity. That had to be, if God isn't in that, I don't know what you could say. It was an amazing thing that happened. And there were so many, even so, there were so many still killed on the beaches trying to get off. But they rescued over 338,000. And I think that to me shows that God was there. As he was there at that time, as he is here with our difficulties. He is there. And he always will be. Amen. So I'd just like to, as a benediction, before I do the passage of scripture, just like to read this to you, if I may. If you hike through the woods of Eastern Europe, in what would have been the Eastern Front of the World War II, nature has reclaimed the battlefields there. You can still see the foxholes, the craters of a world that was really grisly, terrible. And along the path you would see corroded shell casings stuck in the ground. And they serve as a reminder that in that peaceful forest it still holds terrible secrets. The passage of time smooths the sharp edges of history. Memories dim into the darkness of the past. Generations carry the lessons of time to the grave, lost forever to the future. And yet, on Remembrance Day, we say, lest we forget. And it's ironic to say that, because lest we forget, when so many of our troops want to forget. Yet those memories, the horrors of war, are the reason we must remember. We must remember that war is terrible and yet necessary for the freedom to live. And that freedom so often comes at the cost of brave young men and women who willingly lay down their lives for people they would never meet. And we must remember that the rights we so frequently take for granted and privilege entrusted to us by those brave few, we must remember, lest we forget. Amen. Can I read the passage of scripture? God is our refuge, is from Psalm 46. God is our refuge and our strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Dunkirk. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth gave way and gives way, and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, and the mountains quake with their surging. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwells. God is within her, the city. She will not fall. God will help her, the city, at break of day. Nations are in uproar, kingdoms fall, but his voice lifts the earth. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Amen.
Amen.
Can I it's just on my heart to say. Carol and I watched the Remembrance program last night, and I said, how on earth can you possibly come to terms with one of your loved ones that's willingly gone out to die, virtually? And it's terribly hard. And also not to forget that those that went saw some really terrible things. And just to put that in context for me, Carol and Mark's dad, he wasn't at Dunkirk, but he was at D-Day. D-Day is when we tried to reoccupy France. And the only time he talked about the war and the horrors he'd seen was 2 times for me. Was one, he was driving a tank and nearly ran over General Montgomery coming the other way. It's true. But the other time, it's not so funny. His mates who were in another tank, the tank just caught fire in front of him. And it must have been so horrendous for him, because he would never ever talk about it. We only know that it happened. And I think we need to remember when that comes home to your heart, that he carried that all his life, didn't he, Gary? And he was a very strong man. And we just need to remember of all those things that our troops did for us today. Sorry if I went on. I just felt I had to. Sorry.
Let us go with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Enjoy the rest of the Remembrance Sunday today. And just one final notice, the quiz and chips, that's something that's we're thinking about over the Christmas period. You know, we have, as a church, we like us to get together and have a fun evening. You don't have to be so, I mean, we do have fun anyway, but whenever you want to relax and just come and just participate, we'll do a quiz, we'll have some fun, and we have chips as well to go with it, and other foods, no doubt. That's it. Okay, enjoy the rest of the evening. God bless.